The emergency klaxons wailed through Outpost Tethys as Commander Nora Vega sprinted down the corridor, her boots barely touching the vibrating metal floor. Red emergency lights cast sharp shadows across her face, highlighting the determined set of her jaw. "Status report," she barked into her comlink. "Tectonic stability at 17% and falling," responded Lieutenant Darius Wung. "Primary evacuation complete. We've got 23 minutes before Terrace IV tears itself apart." Nora rounded the corner to the command center, pausing only briefly to steady herself as another tremor rocked the structure. The holographic display showed the planet's surface fracturing in real time, angry red fault lines spreading like lightning across the blue-green terrain. "All Earth personnel accounted for?" she asked, scanning the manifest on her wristpad. "Yes, Commander, last transport's prepping for launch now." Darius didn't meet her eyes. "But the Ceruleans." Nora's head snapped up. "What about them?" Union Command classified them as non-priority, said their biology was incompatible with standard life support systems. The words hung in the recycled air between them. Nora knew what that meant. The indigenous population, a semi-aquatic amphibious species that had welcomed their research outpost, had been abandoned. "That's 8,000 sentient beings," she whispered. "Union policy on non-signatories is clear," said Director Harlow from the doorway, his expression unreadable behind his breather mask. "We're not authorized to divert resources." Nora's fingers curled into fists. How many Ceruleans made it out? "Their own vessels took about 6,000, Darius said quietly. "The rest were in the eastern settlement when it collapsed." A violent tremor interrupted them, sending equipment crashing to the floor. The outpost's AI announced in an eerily calm voice, "Structural integrity compromised. Evacuation protocol Gamma initiated. All personnel proceed to transport bay immediately." Harlow gestured toward the exit. "Time to go, Commander." Nora nodded, following the evacuation route with the remaining crew. The transport bay was chaos. Engineers rushing final checks, medics securing injured personnel, the ship's engines already humming with pre-launch sequences. As she supervised the loading of the last equipment containers, Nora noticed a flicker of movement in her peripheral vision. The secondary storage bay, supposedly already cleared, had its door ajar. She shouldn't investigate. They had 17 minutes left. But something pulled her forward. Inside, among overturned crates and abandoned supplies, she heard it, a soft, melodic trilling sound. Following the noise to a collapsed shelf unit, Nora found a small figure huddled in the corner. A young Cerulean, no more than a child by their standards, its skin shifting between pale blue and distressed gray patterns. 4 large, expressive eyes widened at the sight of her. "Hello there," Nora said softly, crouching down. "Are you hurt?" The creature didn't respond verbally, but extended one of its webbed hands toward her, palm upward. The universal gesture of plea. "Commander Vega," Harlow's voice crackled through her comlink. "Final boarding call, where are you?" Nora looked at the trembling child, then at her wristpad. 14 minutes. "I'm bringing someone with me," she responded, making her decision. "Hold the launch." "Who?" Harlow began. "A survivor," Nora cut him off, extending her hand to the young Cerulean. "Someone who matters." The child hesitated, then placed its small hand in hers. Its skin was cool and slightly damp, with a subtle pattern of raised markings that seemed to pulse with light. "I'm Nora," she said, helping the child to its feet. "What's your name?" The Cerulean made a series of clicking sounds, followed by a melodic trill. "Calyx," Nora repeated, trying to approximate the sound. The child's skin brightened slightly, which Nora took as confirmation. Another violent shock wave hit the outpost. The lights flickered as Nora lifted Calyx into her arms and ran for the transport bay. The crew's expressions ranged from shock to outrage when she appeared with the alien child. "Commander, that's a direct violation of evacuation protocols," Harlow sputtered. "Then court-martial me when we're safe," Nora replied, striding past him into the transport ship with Calyx still in her arms. "This child is coming with us." As the ship's doors sealed and the engines roared to life, Nora secured Calyx in the seat beside her. The young Cerulean's skin had shifted to a deep blue with specks of light, fear, perhaps, or uncertainty. Nora felt someone watching her and turned to find security officer Alec Reeves studying them intently from across the aisle. Unlike the others, his expression held no judgment, only a quiet curiosity. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. The transport ship lifted off as Terrace IV convulsed beneath them. Through the viewport, Nora watched the research outpost collapse, swallowed by a spreading fissure. Beside her, Calyx trilled softly, four eyes fixed on the dying world below. "You're not alone," Nora whispered, surprising herself by taking the alien child's hand. "I promise." As the ship accelerated away from the disintegrating planet, Nora felt Calyx's fingers tighten around hers. Different anatomies, different species, but the same instinctive need for connection. What she didn't yet realize was how this single act of compassion would soon alter the course of not just her life, but of two civilizations on the brink of either alliance or war. The starship horizon hummed softly as it cut through the void between systems. Commander Nora Vega stood before the disciplinary panel, her posture military straight despite the exhaustion etched across her features. 3 days had passed since the evacuation of Terrace IV. "Your actions violated Galactic Union Protocol 447B regarding non-signatory species transport," Admiral Kellerman stated, his holographic projection flickering slightly. "You endangered your crew by delaying departure for an unauthorized passenger." "With respect, Admiral, I made a judgment call to save a life," Nora replied evenly. "The Cerulean child would have died." "The Union's position on the Ceruleans was clear," interrupted Dr. Alina Tate, the xenobiology specialist. "Their physiology presents unknown variables. This specimen should be transferred to quarantine immediately." Nora's jaw tightened. "Calyx is not a specimen, and I've observed no biological threats." "Commander Vega," Admiral Kellerman sighed, "pending full review, you're relieved of command duties and confined to quarters. The Cerulean will be transferred to lab deck for evaluation." As the panel adjourned, Security Officer Alec Reeves approached Nora in the corridor. His dark eyes held concern beneath his usually stoic expression. "They're treating you unfairly," he said quietly, falling into step beside her. "I knew the consequences," Nora responded, though her voice betrayed her frustration. "But I can't let them treat Calyx like a lab rat." Alec glanced around before leaning closer. "I've been assigned to escort the Cerulean to quarantine in an hour." Nora stopped walking. "Alec, I need to see Calyx first, please." Something shifted in his expression, a decision made. "I can give you 30 minutes. That's all I can manage without raising flags." "Thank you," she whispered, surprised by the intensity of relief she felt. When they reached the temporary quarters where Calyx had been kept, Nora found the young Cerulean huddled in a corner, skin pulsing with anxious patterns of deep indigo. "Calyx," she called softly. The alien child looked up, four eyes blinking in sequence. Upon recognizing Nora, Calyx's skin lightened to a hopeful azure, bioluminescent markings glowing brighter. Nora crouched down. "I'm sorry I couldn't come sooner." To her surprise, Calyx responded with melodic clicks and trills that somehow seemed more structured than before. The child extended a webbed hand toward Nora's face, hesitating inches away. "It's okay," Nora nodded. The touch was gentle, cool fingertips against her cheek. Suddenly, Nora felt a strange, tingling sensation and heard in her mind, gratitude, fear, friend. She gasped, looking at Alec, who watched from the doorway. "Did you hear that?" she asked. "Hear what?" Alec stepped closer, intrigued. I think Calyx just communicated telepathically." Alec's eyebrows raised. The reports mentioned nothing about Cerulean telepathy. "Maybe they didn't try to understand," Nora said, placing her hand over Calyx's. "Yes, friend." Calyx's skin rippled with golden light. "Family lost, world broken, alone." Nora felt her throat tighten. "You're not alone anymore." Alec crouched beside them, his usual professional distance forgotten. "Commander, if the Ceruleans have telepathic abilities, Dr. Tate will want to run invasive tests." "We can't let that happen," Nora said firmly. "You're already in enough trouble," Alec warned, though his expression had softened as he watched Calyx. Calyx looked between them, then extended a hand toward Alec. After a moment's hesitation, he nodded. The connection was immediate. Alec's eyes widened as he experienced the gentle mental touch. Protector came Calix's questioning thought. Yes, Alec answered without hesitation, surprising himself. The intercom chimed, shattering the moment. Officer Reeves, report status on cerulean transfer. Alec stood pressing the response button, proceeding as scheduled control. After the connection closed, he turned to Nora. We have 5 minutes before they expect us. Their eyes locked, a silent understanding passing between them. Whatever came next, they were in this together. I have an idea, Nora said, her mind racing, but I'll need your help. As they made their hurried plan, Nora found herself acutely aware of Alec's proximity, his steady presence a counterpoint to the chaos they faced. When his hand briefly touched hers, the contact sent unexpected warmth through her veins. Later that night, after they'd successfully convinced Dr. Tate that Calix needed specific environmental conditions only Nora could provide, Alec came to her quarters under the guise of a security check. That was quick thinking today, he said, the door sliding closed behind him. It bought us time, nothing more, Nora replied. The ship reaches Earth in 3 weeks. What happens then? Alec moved closer. I've been thinking about that. I have contacts, people who believe the Union's policies on non-signatory species are wrong. You'd risk your career? Nora asked. Wouldn't you? He countered softly. Haven't you already? In the dim light, with Calix sleeping peacefully in the adjoining room, something shifted between them. Alec reached out, his fingers brushing a strand of hair from her face. I didn't understand why you did it at first, he admitted, but I'm starting to. Nora felt her pulse quicken as his hand lingered. And what do you understand now? That some things matter more than rules. His voice dropped lower. Some connections are worth protecting. When they kissed, it felt like gravity shifting, unexpected yet somehow inevitable. His arms encircled her waist as hers found their way around his neck, the contact breaking through the isolation of command she'd carried for so long. As they separated, breathless, Nora whispered, "This complicates things." Alex smiled. I think things were already complicated. From the other room came a soft, melodic trilling. Calix, dreaming of a lost world and perhaps a new beginning. The orbital station Artemis loomed against Earth's blue backdrop, its massive ring structure rotating slowly to generate gravity. Inside her quarters, Nora adjusted the environmental controls again, increasing humidity as Calix's skin had begun showing signs of dryness, fine cracks appearing along the bioluminescent patterns. Better? She asked, watching the young cerulean. Calix's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Yes, thank you. The telepathic communication had strengthened over the past 2 weeks. What began as simple concepts and emotions had developed into more complex exchanges. Calix was learning at an astonishing rate. The door chimed, and Alec entered, his normally composed features tight with tension. What's wrong? Nora asked immediately. Admiral Kellerman's shuttle docked early, he said, lowering his voice. And he brought representatives from the Biomedical Research Division. Nora's blood ran cold. They're not waiting for the hearing. Alec nodded grimly. They've already requested transfer of the cerulean specimen for priority research. Calix trilled softly, picking up on their distress. Danger. No danger, Nora assured, though the lie felt bitter. She turned to Alec. We have to move up our plan. The transport I arranged doesn't leave for 3 days, he replied. Nora paced the small room. What about medical? Dr. Joshi seemed sympathetic. Worth a try, Alec agreed. But first, there's something you should see. He pulled up his datapad, displaying laboratory results. I had a friend analyze the tissue sample Calix voluntarily provided. Nora scanned the report, her eyes widening. This can't be right. It's been confirmed twice, Alex said. Cerulean cellular structure has regenerative properties unlike anything in our medical database. Their genetic material can adapt to and repair damaged tissues, possibly even across species. Which is exactly why the research division wants Calix, Nora realized with horror. They'll experiment endlessly. Help others, Calix's thought voice interrupted, having clearly understood more than they realized. My cells heal. Yes, Nora explained gently, but some people might want to take too much from you. Calix's skin rippled thoughtfully, willing to share, not willing to be taken. Alex's hand found Nora's, their fingers intertwining naturally now. We won't let that happen. The intimate gesture wasn't lost on Calix, who observed them with curious eyes, bond growing like pod family. Nora felt warmth spread across her cheeks. What had developed between her and Alec in these pressured weeks defied her expectations. Each stolen moment, shared meals in her quarters, late-night strategy sessions that turned to whispered confessions, the increasing comfort of his touch, had built something precious and unexpected. Yes, she acknowledged, like family. Alec's expression softened as he looked at her. We should check in with Dr. Joshi before the Admiral's team starts making rounds. As they prepared to leave, Alec pulled Nora aside, his voice low. Whatever happens, I don't regret any of this. Nor do I, she replied, meeting his gaze steadily. Their kiss was brief but intense, a promise amid uncertainty. Calix trilled softly, skin glowing with a warm rose hue they'd come to recognize as approval. Dr. Amara Joshi proved more than sympathetic. After hearing their situation, she immediately offered the secure medical isolation chamber, typically used for immunocompromised patients. The research division can't override medical quarantine without board approval, she explained, leading them through a restricted corridor. That buys you at least 48 hours. As they settled Calix into the chamber, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. What's happening? Nora asked. Dr. Joshi checked her console. Unknown vessel approaching, not responding to hails. Alec's security clearance provided the answer moments later. It's a Cerulean ship. Shock rippled through them all. Impossible, Nora breathed. The reports said they had no interstellar capability. The reports were wrong, Alec said grimly. Within hours, the station was in diplomatic chaos. The Cerulean vessel had established communication, demanding the return of all survivors from Terrace IV, specifically mentioning the child of first speaker Ilix. Calix is royalty, Nora whispered in disbelief as they watched the diplomatic feed from their hidden medical bay. Not royalty, responsibility, Calix corrected. First speaker guides, child of speaker learns. Understanding dawned on Nora. You were being trained to lead your people. Alex squeezed her hand. This changes everything if Calix is politically significant. The Union will either try to leverage the situation or hide what happened on Terrace IV, Nora finished. That night, as Calix slept in the secure chamber, Nora and Alec made their decision in the privacy of her temporary quarters. The weight of what they were considering, defection, essentially, hung heavy in the air. There's no going back from this, Alec said, his hands gentle on her waist. I know, Nora replied, but I can't let them use Calix as a pawn, either the Union or the Ceruleans. In the dim light, they found comfort in each other's arms, the connection between them deepening with each caress. Their lovemaking was both tender and urgent, an affirmation of life amid looming disaster, a joining that transcended their individual paths to create something new. After, as they lay entwined, Nora traced the outline of his face. I never expected you. Nor I you, he murmured against her hair, but here we are. Here we are, she echoed, about to throw away everything for an alien child. Alec's laugh was soft, when you put it that way. Sounds like madness, she suggested. Sounds like the most human thing I've ever done, he corrected her, his eyes serious despite his smile. The station's night cycle hummed quietly around them as they planned their escape. Two humans and a Cerulean child against the powers of two worlds.